Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now, today I'm joined by the beautiful Audriena Comeaux. Audriena, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for asking, and it is so nice to have you here because we've been talking for a long time. We've been friends for a long time, but before we talk about why you're here, I would like for the people that don't know you to get to know you a little bit. You were born and raised in Chicago, another Midwest kid.
Yep.
Been a fan of horror pretty much your whole life. You used to watch Svengoolie and indie horror on cable TV, and you knew that you wanted to do that for a living. So, you started acting as a kid in commercials, background work, theater, and then went on to print, ad, film, stuff like that. So, you knew you wanted to do this at a young age, but what got you actually started in acting?
So when I was a baby, me and my mom were in a commercial together actually for the Humana Medical Company over here in the
Hey.
Midwest. So I think just from that moment on, I just didn't want to do anything else. I was like hooked even though I was so young. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then I got to do Dennis the Menace, which is filmed in Illinois. So
Mhm.
I was a little kid playing in the sandbox. That was a little fun for me back in the day to be like, oh yeah, that's me.
That's so sick. That is awesome. Like, what an iconic movie too. Like for you to be a part of.
Yeah, it's definitely
Um,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, that's a cool thing that you could share with everybody. That's fucking amazing. But you did get into horror. You shot your first horror short, Harvest, right out of college. Then you relocated to LA, where you began creating horror shorts of your own and acting in other filmmakers' features. So you took that, going from the sandbox and Dennis to Menace and going into horror. So do you think that you always wanted to be a part of horror, or was it just you wanted to be an actor? It didn't matter what the cause was.
I always wanted to be an actor, but horror, like I just distinctly have this memory of watching cable TV indie horror. I don't know why I gravitated towards that, flipping channels as a kid on Showtime. I'm like, what is this movie? I like it's amazing. I want to do this, you know?
Right.
And I it just stuck in my head for the rest of my life. Like that's what I want to focus on when I get older.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
the best way for you guys to check out some of the things she's done and become a part of her life is by just following her on social media. I have all her links down in the description below. So make sure you're going and following her on social media. So, like I said, you can stay up to date on everything that she's going to be doing in the future because she's not done. We're not at the tail end of the career. We're just at the beginning. So make sure you're following her to stay up to date on all these amazing things in her life. So, in order for you to create Harvest and be a part of other horror films, horror had to start for you somewhere. So now I would like to go back to the past and talk about what got you started in the horror genre, your first horror movie. And Audriena, your first horror movie was.
My first horror movie was Child's Play. I distinctly remember it just being on cable all the time as a child, and I just would watch when I saw that Universal logo.
Uh-huh.
I was like, "Oh, this is what's about to happen." Like, I know what's about to come on TV. Like, yeah,
So just to make sure, we're talking about 1988, the original
yeah,
Child's
oh
Play.
yeah, the original, yes. But I also
Okay.
have memories of like all the first three just marathons, constantly, constantly, constantly being on. I think it was like USA back in the day, just
Yep.
constantly.
It's so funny because like I could still remember because of the amount that we watched them, like some of the edited for TV lines, like in the beginning of Child's Play 3 when he's like, "Where are you, you little shit?"
Yeah.
On the USA one, it was like, "Where are you, you little snot?" It wasn't even like close at all.
Oh yeah.
Um, so do you remember about how old you were the first time you had seen Child's Play?
Um, Gosh, I came out in the 80s. I was born in the 80s, but I think probably maybe first grade, around that, so like seven. Yeah,
Very young, very impressionable age to watch
yeah.
a killer doll because when
I
we're,
remember,
five,
yeah, no one stopped me in my family. They're like, it's pretend. It's whatever.
right. But it's just like, when you're 5, 6, 7 years old, it's always like that's your life is your dolls,
Yeah,
and and
yeah.
then you see this, and you're like, wait, what the fuck? Like, what's going
Right.
on here? So, do you remember who you were with when you watched it for the first time?
I believe it was family. I remember I used to get babysat with my cousins. I think they just turned it on. And then my mom, she even watched it with me too. Like no one in my family ever like thought horror movies are bad to watch. So yeah,
Right.
I just grew up in a household that yeah, you can watch Candyman, you can watch Child's Play, like it's all make believe. It's not bad or anything. Yeah,
Well, as long as you get the education to go along with it, as long as you have
yeah,
that
yeah.
person there with you saying, "Hey, this isn't real,"
Right,
I
yeah.
think that horror I think it's better for kids when,
Hmm.
like I said, as long as you're getting education with it, then
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think kids are more grounded in reality if they watch horror and they get the education to know what's real and what isn't.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Child's Play is still a very iconic movie to this day, but do you remember which scene it was that affected you the most?
Um Oh, the batteries. I know it's kind of cliche, but like the batteries that fall out, and it's like, oh gosh, like he was moving around this whole time freely.
The middle of the second act when that
Yeah,
happens. So you've been watching this whole time and you've never got to see the doll move. You know, it's all been from
yeah,
his point or something like that. So when you have that and then you have him coming to life, you know, and absolutely attacking
yeah.
Karen at that moment, like it's such a scary moment the first time you see that doll go from being the doll to being Chucky.
I said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch! You filthy slut! Did you fuck with me?
Yeah. No, I love that film style and that film choice when like the killer doesn't do anything for like 20, 30 minutes. Because the build up to that and the just the filming of just the idol like evil thing, and you're like, what's
Yeah.
happening? What's happening? And then finally, like, oh gosh, you know.
And it when it
Yeah.
comes to life, it makes it that much more of like that much more scary, you know,
Yeah.
watching it this whole time. And is it really the doll or is Andy going crazy and he's a little
Right.
split personality thing going on?
Yeah.
So we know which scene affected you the most, Audriena, but what would you say your favorite scene from the original Child's Play would be?
My favorite scene. I mean, they're all so good. Oh, actually, you know what? It's gonna be the opening scene because I'm a Chicago native, so I kind of just enjoy knowing where it was shot. So it's Wabash and like the specific corner. I'm like, I know where that corner is at where the toy store is. And just kind of seeing that initial like Chucky taking form with the voodoo and the lightning and the explosions. And it looked like a very cool shot to be filmed in general. So I don't know,
Yeah.
that's my favorite cinematic scene of that film.
Well, and like you said, being there and being able to go walk to that location, you know, like this is where it happened. Like it's always a
Yeah,
really good feeling. And
yeah,
Midwest horror, you know, Chicago, you got Candyman,
yeah.
you've got Chucky, like all these Midwest horror places, and you can go Scream 4, this filming locations in Detroit, Barbarian. Um,
hmm
you know, going to see all these places in the Midwest, it's always really cool when it's so close to home. And you can
Yeah.
go and watch these and see where they were filmed, how they were filmed, and stuff like that. So um we know that Child's Play, you know, still, like I said, very influential movie. Not a lot of deaths in this first movie, but every single one is extremely impactful. So, what death would you say was the one that stuck with you the most?
Oh, the babysitter. Like I'm a Grease fanatic. I'm a musical theater kid. So I was like, oh my gosh, the girl from Grease getting thrown
Right.
out the window. Like,
Chucky was like, "You're the one that I want,"
right.
and I love that because right after that, you get one of my favorite lines in the movie when Andy's like,
He said that Maggie was a real bitch and got what she deserved.
Like, that mom, I was like, what? Like, I
"Right."
couldn't even imagine if that was my kid. Like, what is wrong with it? The cop too, and she's like,
About that. I promise he's not crazy. I promise. Uh, so Child's Play is a big franchise now, and it was still going. We know at least the rumors are the TV series has been canceled after 3 seasons, and Don Mancini is going to be making one last final film.
oh
That's
wow.
what the rumor is at this moment. But at the time of recording, we've had 3 TV shows and up to Cult of Chucky. So of this franchise, what would you say your favorite film in the entry in the franchise would be?
Of the whole franchise, I think it's gonna be kind of a tie between 2 and 3, but I think God, there's just so many kill scenes in 2 or 3 that like ties it up. Like the one where he's in the trash compactor is insane. Like in 3. And then the one in 2 when they're on the conveyor belt, that's nuts. When he like sticks a knife, it's like all that the graphics and everything of both of those are so like tied together with. I have to kind of put them equally. That's my
Sure.
favorite, 2 and 3.
I love whenever people say 3 because that's my favorite and I fucking love it. But one thing I will say, you were talking about a second ago, like when you get him on the conveyor belt, as a kid, the scene of any movie ever that gave me the most nightmares is in Child's Play 2 when the eyeballs go into the technician's
Yeah,
face.
yeah.
Like
Gosh.
as a kid, I had nightmares of that guy chasing me with those doll eyes.
Oh no.
And I don't know, like that so bad as a kid. Like that scared me so bad as a kid. So whenever people talk about him on that conveyor belt, that's the first thing my mind goes to. And the trash compactor kills one of the saddest kills in the whole franchise. You know, that trash guy thinks he's just going in to help a kid that's stuck,
Right?
and then Chucky kills him. Like,
Oh man.
so fucked up, man.
So yeah,
And
definitely.
it is, but I'm like the once you now that 3 is even in the top part of it, I'm extremely happy. So we know that Child's Play started your horror life, Audrina, and obviously my favorite horror franchise of all time. So I absolutely love when I get to talk about Child's Play with people. But here for a second, my little buddy Ghostface is here, and
Okay.
he has a question for you. What's your favorite scary movie, Audrina? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
Okay, it's I saw what you did, and I know who you are. It's a classic, like black and white Joan Crawford film.
Yeah.
If I ever had the money and budget, I would remake it to buy the rights. Honestly, that would be a dream of mine. It's such a great film. You can't even do it now because of like we have cell phones and stuff. But the way they did it in Scream, like how they like kind of combated that issue with the private caller and all that, I feel like there's a way to still remake it. Basically, have you seen it before by any chance?
No.
Okay, so basically these girls, it's black and white, so it's like back in the day when you had to go through a phone book. They just pick a random number on the phone book and they call, like, I saw what you did, I know who you are. And they finally call this guy who just murdered somebody. So he's like freaking out. And like, you know who I am, you know who I am. And he like somehow gets them to meet up with them. They're stupid teenage girls bored. They go to this guy's house and like it's nuts. And he ends up
I
following
gotta
them
check this
home.
out.
It's really it's hard to find. I had to buy the VHS on like Amazon. It's very hard to find. I saw it in
Yeah.
Svengoolie and they haven't played it since.
Oh my gosh. I've never even heard of it.
I don't even know who the rights are, what studio owns it. I think it's very hard to like get a hold of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely check this out because I'm very intrigued. Like I gotta figure out a way to watch this. So man, I know I said it at the beginning, guys, but we're getting to the end of the third act. You know, the credits are about to roll and the curtain's about to drop. But before that happens, like I said, I do have all of Audrina's social media links down in the description. So make sure you're following her. Now before I let you go, we always go back to the same question. We're going to bounce back to Child's Play. And what we're going to do is rank this movie on a skull count. Now, we're not ranking it on acting, production, score, direction, nothing like that. We're not being critics. All we're doing is ranking this movie on how much it affected you on your first viewing. So, 0 skulls being not effective, 5 being extremely effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle. Audrina, what would your ranking of Child's Play be?
It's 1 to 5, you said, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, 5.
It's definitely one of those movies that like do you know what the original story of what Child's Play was going to be, like the original script? Do you know what that was?
I did watch the documentaries that what's released. What was it, My Life with Chucky or whatever, that recent one that came out and all that. I think it was it kind of based off the My Buddy dolls, you know, those toys that were out back in the
How
day,
they were going
kind
to
of like
be.
that.
The original pitch Don Mancini had was that it was going to be like a doll that was like oil filled, like an oil filled doll.
Oh wow.
And Andy dropped it and it broke and it was leaking. So he cut himself and put some of his blood in the doll.
Oh, no.
And that's how, and the studio
Wow.
was like, we're not too into a kid cutting himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I do like it. One question I forgot to ask. When we talked about the franchise, you know, we did get a Child's Play remake. Are you a fan of the Child's Play remake?
The one with Aubrey Plaza, right?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it for what they used with the technology.
Mhm.
I did not hate it. I mean, obviously he looked creepy. That's the only issue I had. The way he looked was not, no. But everything else, the story, the acting, the kills, the reasons that he was able to do it with the technology, I thought it was well done. I would put it in its own separate thing. I would kind of take it out, honestly. I 100% would put it in its own separate category and grade
Now,
it on
people that
that.
have listened to this podcast before know what I'm about to say. So, guys, please forgive me. If I'd have been marketing for this movie, I would have named it Buddy from the world of Child's Play and made it its own thing. You know what I mean? Because you didn't have to call the doll Chucky. You didn't have to call the family Andy and Karen. You know, they could have been their own things. And then we could have carried on. We could have got the Buddy Bear movie. I want a fucking Buddy Bear movie so bad. That shit would be so dope. But I agree with you. I think that it stood out enough on its own. They didn't use Charles Lee Ray. You know, Charles Lee Ray was not in this because that's already been done. It's already been perfected. There's no reason to try to do that again. However, they made the story their own. And if they would have just had that slight little change, you know, from the world of Child's Play, it could have made a huge difference in what this movie. I would have been a lot more on board. I didn't want to even see the movie because I'm such a Don Mancini purist. I was like, nah, Don Mancini hates it. I'm not in it. You know, he didn't want them to do it, and they did it anyway. Fuck them. And I ended up watching it. I was like, damn, Don, that was pretty dope. I'm sorry. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to be a dick, but it was dope. So yeah, I do love the movie. I think it's great. And I wanted to get your opinion on it. Because I know some people love it, some people hate it. Yeah, the doll looks fucking ridiculous, but I still love the movie. So I do again want to thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with me for a little bit. But don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you. Everyone else, if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. It does help build the channel more than you know. And follow Sledgehammer Horror on social media. Our links are in the description as well. But until next time, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.